Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to the personality edition of 5 Minute Psych. In this 5-minute segment, we'll explore the trait perspective by first defining personality and traits. Then we'll examine 3 different ideas about how many traits are needed to fully describe anyone's personality, and we'll end with an evaluation of the trait perspective. Our personalities have a big influence on what we choose to do and whether we'll do it again, so it's an essential part of understanding human nature. We can think of personality as a set of consistent characteristics and responses that are unique to each of us, while traits are the adjectives that are used to describe someone on the inside. Are they agreeable, optimistic, sociable, and so on? The trait perspective of personality uses statistical tools that analyze the responses of thousands of participants to personality questionnaires, with the goal of identifying the minimum number of unique, independent traits that are necessary to describe anyone's personality. In other words, what adjectives and how many would we need to describe anyone we know? One of the first to use statistical tools to identify core personality traits was Hans Eysenck, and he believed that personality is made up of 3 independent traits, or superfactors as he called them, and that we could score anywhere from high to low on each of these superfactors. These factors are extroversion. If you scored high, then you're very sociable, but a low score here would mean you get drained around other people. Neuroticism, a high score here would mean you're moody and temperamental, while a low score signifies someone who is more calm and emotionally stable. And finally, psychoticism. A high score would indicate impulsiveness and creativity, while a low score would suggest someone who is disciplined and self-controlled. Eysenck believed that these superfactors acted like primary colors, in that they could be combined to derive many other traits. Eysenck was also way ahead of his time by proposing a biological explanation of personality, arguing that the traits that we display are the result of how our nervous system is hardwired. Raymond Cattell thought that having only 3 bipolar factors was too skinny for a comprehensive theory of personality, and he argued that there are instead 16 independent bipolar factors that are needed to adequately describe anyone's personality. Some examples of the factors he came up with include serious versus happy-go-lucky, timid versus venturesome, and relaxed versus tense. As you can imagine, some believe that with 16 bipolar factors, there's likely some overlap between factors, and that Cattell's theory could have been more parsimonious. A nice compromise was found by Costa and McCrae, as well as many other researchers, who argued that we need 5 traits to adequately describe anyone's personality, and you can remember these 5 factors by the acronym OCEAN, where O stands for openness, C for conscientiousness, E for extroversion, A for agreeableness, and N for neuroticism. Again, the idea was that a person could score from high to low on each of these traits, and like Eysenck, these traits can be combined like primary colors to make different personality traits. In fact, there's some overlap with the traits in the 5-factor model and Eysenck's original 3 superfactors. They both have the trait extroversion and neuroticism, and Eysenck's psychoticism could be considered like a combination of the 5-factor model's conscientiousness and agreeableness. In any case, today, this is how personality is most typically thought of among researchers in the field. As a theory of personality, the trait perspective has enjoyed substantial support. For instance, we do see considerable stability in our personality across time, and our personality scores on a test won't change dramatically as we age. This is likely because, as other research has shown, there's a genetic component to personality, just like Eysenck proposed years ago. That being said, we see much more consistency in our personality if the situation hasn't changed compared to if it has, suggesting that sometimes the way we react may not come strictly from within us, but maybe from what's going on around us too. Also, some criticize the trait perspective for providing an oversimplified view of personality. Imagine summarizing all of our individual uniquenesses with only 5 adjectives. But maybe the biggest criticism is that as a theory, it does a great job describing personality and what it is, but it falls short in explaining our personality, why we end up with the personality that we have, and any complete theory should be able to do that. Well, we just looked at the trait perspective of personality by examining 3 different viewpoints, and then we ended with an evaluation of the trait perspective. Now, aren't you glad you had 5 minutes?